Hey, I'm so glad you're here. I understand today is World Chocolate Day, and so I thought, what am I going to cook chocolate? And I don't know if you've ever had it, but the old-timey chocolate frosting that our grandmothers and our mothers made were the best. Now, my grandmother used to make hers in an iron skillet. I opt for the stainless steel boiler because I can put it in the dishwasher instead of having to clean that. And she would have made hers originally with the granulated sugar. I make this, and she did too later on, and with the confectioner's sugar. But it calls for 1 stick of butter. Now, bake just a cake. I want y'all to remember me telling you the little trick about making sure that you slapped it to get the air out of there. Look how evenly that cake cooked. You know, if you don't, sometimes you might have one end that's 3 inches taller than the other. That's just a regular cake mix. I've cooked it just like the box ingredients said. And so that is still hot. I like to put it over it while it's still warm. And so I have melted 1 stick of butter in my boiler. And to that, it calls for 6 tablespoons of milk. Well, I measured that out for you. That's 1/3 of a cup. Been a lot easier, but you know, back then, I mean, this is an old recipe that I've got here. And so I'm gonna bring this to a boil, and I'm gonna add 6 tablespoons of cocoa. Now, if you want yours a richer listen at me, a richer chocolate, you can put more, but 3 will be plenty for us because we like it. I've told you before, we like that milk chocolate. And so we put 3 tablespoons, and one of them didn't empty out, so I might ought to put just a tad more, make sure I've got enough, and I'm making a mess. And so we're gonna whisk this to get the cocoa to where it's not the little lumps in there, and we're gonna bring this to a boil. And when we bring this to a boil, then we are going to start adding it. Call for a box. This tells you how old it is because it's hard to find the box of the Domino confectioner sugar a lot of times, but it calls for a box, which is a pound. And so I checked that, and it says it's 3.5 to 4 cups. So I weighed us out a pound of confectioner sugar. Mine ended up being 3.5 cups. So you judge that for your own. You don't want too much though, because it will really dry and it'll really be hard. We want it to set up, but we don't want it to be so hard that that it just kind of, you know, it cracks or whatever everywhere. And let me make sure, because it's been a while since I've made this. Okay, we're gonna heat it until it bubbles, and it's doing that. So I am going to cut it down. Let me cut it down because it's thickening up on me. Okay, and so to that, I'm gonna take it off of this, and I'm gonna move it over here because I don't want it to thicken too much on me before I start whisking in my confectioner sugar. You don't have to sift the sugar. Well, let's see, y'all. I haven't got this all figured out. You don't have to sift it, but you want to beat it really good so that you get the confectioner sugar, all the clumps that are in there. And because I guess if you sift it, you know, you may have to. It may take a little bit more. Okay, we're going to do just a little bit more. I'm sorry I'm clanging. I hope you've had a good day today. You know, this brought back memories of my grandmother. Like I said, when we were little and we would get off the school bus, our grandmother was going to always, those of us that got off at her house, she was always going to either have us a cake with this chocolate frosting on there, or she was going to have homemade tea cakes. And her tea cakes would be as such that they would be so thin, you know, they would be just really, really good. Okay, let's keep, I may have cooked it a little bit too much, but you know what you do when you do that is just add a little bit of milk to it, and I'm gonna have to add a little milk, and I'm not prepared with that, so let me put my vanilla, and then we're gonna add a little milk to thin it out. I cooked it too much. It calls for a teaspoon of vanilla, and so we're gonna add that in there, because it really starts to thicken really fast. And I really haven't, I guess I've been too busy talking, I really haven't thinned it or got all the little clumps out of the confectioner sugar like I wanted to have. But anyway, it'll still be good. It'll be us. Now I poked some little holes in there, and if you're taking it somewhere, you might not want to do that. Let me grab some milk right quick. right, we're just gonna start with maybe about a tablespoon because it won't take much. We wanna just make sure we thin it out so that it pours beautifully over that cake, because it will thicken back up. Even though if the cake is still warm, it will thicken back up. Let's put just a tad. I need to cut this eye off too. I'm gonna end up getting burned. All right, that's probably another, I don't know, tablespoon and a half, but this ought to make it about right. You do have to work fast, and me trying to talk to y'all and tell you about it and all that, but I wanted you to be able to see me make it because it makes a difference than me just telling you what I did. Okay, so see the consistency of it? Can you see that? You see how it is? Okay, so that's the way I want it. And so all I'm gonna do is pour it over this cake. And it's gonna seep down into those little, I'll show y'all what I took to do holes. I didn't want great big holes, but I wanted some holes just so that it could go down in there in some of them. All right, I'm gonna have to clean the rest of this board out, but let's get this kind of spread before it starts hardening on us. This is such an easy thing, and it's so inexpensive too when you think about all that you've got. And I really did not get my cocoa beat out enough, but y'all will do better than I did. Like I said, it makes a difference when you're trying to talk and not being able just to concentrate on what you're doing. And I'm feeling it, I'm doing it where it feels in. And some of its little holes showing where I'm thinking that it's actually the cocoa. It is some cocoa showing, but you'll beat it out good though when you do it. I hope you'll try it. Like I said, it's so inexpensive. I mean, you've got a cake mix, and by the time you put your oil and your stuff in there, you know, depending on what you can get your cake mix on sale for, you might have $2 to $2.50 in it, and then milk you're gonna have, confectioner's sugar. I mean, I don't know, you can make this cake, I would say, probably for maybe $7. It could be a little bit less. And it's such a good cake, and it's so easy. And the thing of it is, most of this stuff you keep in your pantry. And if you had to, you could make your cake from scratch. I'm trying to get it into the little holes that it will go on down in there. But I'm telling y'all what, this is some good eating for sure. I want y'all to see it. You'll see the little holes. Like I said, if you're taking it somewhere, you might not want to poke the holes. But this is what I used, was my mixer blade or whatever that's called. But anyway, you'll see where it's starting to get kind of crackly looking at the end, that it's starting to dry, and the confectioner's sugar is going to start setting up. But isn't that pretty? I can cut y'all a piece and let you kind of see what it looks like. This is so easy, I do hope, and I done really made a mess here with that, y'all. This has been just messy for me. Okay, so let's cut a piece, and we're gonna get all this gooey right here on the end. If I can get it up out of there. Look at that, and see the one that's running down in there, but look how good that looks. And see my little holes I poked? Let's see what that icing tastes like. It's gonna be warm. That is so good. That is so good. That is such an easy icing. Something that you can make, and you've got something to take to potluck or wherever you want to do it, or just make it for your family. But I hope you've had a great day today. I hope that you'll keep faith in your heart, peace in your home, and good food on your table. I love you, and God bless.